what it is, y'all. It is your old boy Pilk, and this is going to be a very, very, very hard video to make. Not for a bad reason necessarily, but because it's not a video I want to necessarily make, all things considered. But you've seen the title, you know what this is about. Let's talk about this incoming banner because, well, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with a new Leafy, okay? We talked about her yesterday quite a bit. New Leafy is pretty awesome. I always say my goal is to get 4K health out of a physical unit, 3750-ish, 3800 out of a magic. We have a magic unit that's really close to 4K. With 500 defense, mind you. Not the best defense, but good defense. The magic attack, though, and that agility. 2100 magic, 1137 agility. This unit is going to be quick and deadly. What does she do? Well, skill 1, fast, agility down 40% and wind resist down, agility down 35% and wind resist down 40% for 5 turns each. That agility debuff is going to be deadly in Wargame. And that wind resistance, we have so many new wind units that are insane, is also going to be deadly. Then, foes plural, low wind magic attack, and shorten status buffs by 1 turn each time she uses that additional action. Now, the goal is to kill them turn 1. If not, turn 2 just kind of comes in and just does its uglies. Because that secondary attack is going to devalue every single one of your team's buffs, which means if you have a unit set to buff and it loses the buff because of that, turn 3 it's going to rebuff. Turn 4 it's going to rebuff. Turn 5 it's going to rebuff. Every time you lose a buff because of the skill, your unit's going to rebuff and you're going to hate life. Or if you have the unit set to balanced or whatever that basically does the attack without the buffs, she's going to neuter your damage. Leafy is deadly. Absolutely deadly for Wargame. This unit is an absolute must for Wargame. Skill 2. Skill 1 isn't badass enough. Skill 2. Foes plural fast. Another fast skill. High wind magic attack with high end guard rate. Magic resist down 35%. Self magic dex and wind attack damage plus 50%. Now, I'm curious about something. I've got my game in front of me here. And the goal is always to get Lily's get Lily's skill 2 off before anybody else. But let me see what Lily's base damage or base agility stat is before CP levels and all that good stuff. Let's see. So if we max limit break and max ascend Lily, she gets 1207. So Lily in most circumstances is still going to be a little bit faster than Leafy, and that's good news. Now, there are ways around that. There's ways to make Leafy faster. There's still ways to make Lily a little bit faster, but Lily still has a speed advantage. That said, you are not going to like situation. You're not going to like basically seeing Leafy on a team. Leafy in war games is going to be a death sentence. Okay? This unit goes hard for no reason whatsoever. Now, skill 3 is the general single target throwaway skill. High wind magic attack with skill damage plus 35% per self magic and dex buff. So basically that becomes, with the right conditions, mind you, because that's 35% per magic buff per dex buff. If you really are doing this right, you should buff dex on assist skills, which means that becomes 140%. Now that is, I think I said before that was a throwaway skill in the original assessment, but I forgot that was a double buff. So that actually will hit stupid hard. The downside is you got to really build a team for that, and you got to be mindful of dex buffs on the team. That does get a little dicey, but there are quite a few assists that will buff dex. So, worst case scenario, and I will emphasize worst case scenario, you're talking, what, 105%? But really, if you build your team right, 140% attack damage on skill 3. So she's going to be good for double target, or for multi-target and single target. Now, her AoE, her special, is very late on, my apologies. Her SA is Ultra Wind Magic Attack with temporary great magic boost. And this is foes, plural, so it is AoE. Ultra magic attack with temporary magic boost, temporary great magic boost. It's even better than a regular magic boost. And all allies 80% magic and wind attack damage. So if you don't have the unit that does 100% wind damage on a magic team, you really only need this unit. She is absolutely sick. Sick. And remember, she's still getting that skill 1 extra action for 3 additional turns. So turn 2, 3, and 4, she's attacking with that. So it's removing your buffs. But even worse than that. So passives, 35% earth resistance, but here's the crazy one. Counters our wind magic attack and, for the foe that she hits, shorten status buffs by 1 turn. The only way is to have a unit on the front that has like an ultra on guard raiders, or I'm sorry, ultra uncounter rate or something like that, so that she won't counter you when you attack. Because if she does, you're going to hate life and your buffs are just straight up gone. If skill 1, the secondary action on skill 1, if that doesn't remove your buff, that certainly will. So if you're running her, you really need to increase the counter rate. Counter rate is going to be a huge factor in this Leafy, and I do mean a massive factor in this Leafy. But she also does 35% magic agility and dex right out of the gate, and 60% counter damage, plus 20% damage on critical. So really, as much as I say her skill 2 is deadly, her skill 2 is where the buffs occur, and so skill 3 and on really are the big hitters. Even without those buffs, she still has some buffs. She's still going to hit it hard in war game. You 100% want this Leafy. You do not want to sleep on this Leafy. Yes, I am telling my free-to-play people, if you can afford it, hit this banner, but you need to save minimum 8,000 Iris for the final rounds in part 3. Now, do you remember, we're going to get a tail rerun, we've got a lot of things coming up, and we've got a free 1,500 Iris basically coming for the next campaign. We did get that confirmed this morning. And then we did also learn that they are going to extend part 2 for reasons unbeknownst to this point. I'm sure we can speculate, but we're going to extend part 2, and part 3 is going to come a little bit late, so you will have a bit of extra time. So take advantage of this, guys. I really feel like this is a great banner. And we haven't even talked about, I won't say she's the craziest one, but the new Ais is nuts. People that own Casino Seer are about to forsake that unit. Ais does 1,278 HP at full max limit break. That is an insane health stat. Insane health stat. One of the craziest health stats in the game. Remember, that tax on top of whatever health that unit she's tied to provides. Just 244 MP, which isn't the worst, but isn't the best. Physical attack and magic attack are both 472, but let me tell you why that's not a big deal. But first, Dex 246 could be better, but Defense 246, but her Dex stat 617 is off the charts. Her Dex stat is ridiculous. Now, what does she do? This is where it gets wild. Okay? Self. SA gauge charge 111%. The next closest unit we have to that is Casino Seer with 100%. And so this is basically a massive magic creep, or a power creep on Casino Seer. But what's even more impressive is that on top of power creeping Casino Seer, she also does strength, magic, and dex plus 25%. Now it is worth noting, this is basically built for whoever she's tied to. So the best use of this unit would be on like a integrated magic and strength team, where you have like one magic unit and all the rest of attackers are strength, use her. Or one strength unit and all the rest of the attackers are magic, use this. Plus, once again, the 111% SA gauge charge is pretty crazy. That is, I'd have to do the math on it, but I believe in Wrecker Buster, that equates to like 1 extra SA. Wild. Absolutely wild unit. And you better believe this is going to be a huge game changer, especially for the upcoming Wrecker Buster that's kicking off tomorrow. So basically what I'm telling you is you really want to hit both these units. You want to max both these units if at all possible. And then save another 8 to 12k Iris for the final set of banners. That sounds incredibly unfair, and it kind of is. I'm not going to lie. These units are absolute fire. The one thing to do bear in mind here, Ais, obviously, the unit that I think is the most universal. She's going to be good for just about everything. But I will say Leafy is 100% Wargame. So if you aren't a Wargame main, you could probably take Ais over her. And I'm willing to bet. Now, we haven't gotten the data mines yet, but I'm willing to bet they're going to give us 3 summons on these on the paid banner as well. So if you're a whale, take advantage of that. Okay? Just saying. If you're a whale, 100% take advantage of that. But most of my people watching, you really got to start doing CP levels. You got to start budgeting accordingly. This is just what it is. You need this banner for Wargame. And that's kind of that. And even, like I said, Ais would be good outside of Wargame. Ais would be good darn near everything. Let me know your opinions of these units in the comments section down below. But for now, that's my opinion. If you enjoyed my opinion, make sure you hit that old thumbs up button. If you disagree or you have something to add, definitely put it in the comments section down below. But my 2 cents, get both units. Catch y'all in the next one, where hopefully I won't have to tell you guys to do the dumb. And we'll be able to do something a little nicer. Ooh, next one's data mines. I'm probably still going to have to tell you to do the dumb, aren't I? Joy.